Hello, I'm Dr. John Palm, Superintendent of the Puyallup School District. Thank you for joining us tonight. This presentation is designed to provide you with clear, factual information about our upcoming bond election on April 22nd, and provide you with an opportunity to engage with district leadership and ask questions. As a reminder, levies are for learning and bonds are for buildings. The state of Washington does not provide upfront funding for construction, for replacing, or for building new schools, including district facilities. Because of this, we rely on our local community to pass bonds to meet these needs. After a bond passes and major projects are significantly completed, the district can apply for state matching funds to support additional projects. You'll learn more about that process later in the presentation. Every voice in our community matters, and your participation in this process helps shape the future of education for our students. Your time and engagement are greatly appreciated. So now I'd like to welcome Dr. Vincent Pecchia, Assistant Superintendent of Operations and School Support, who will introduce our presenters and begin the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Palm. This 20 to 30-minute presentation will provide you with video previews and important information about the bond election so you can make an informed choice. I'm joined by my colleagues, Brian Devereaux, Director of Facilities Planning, and Sarah Gillespie, Executive Director of Communications, who is monitoring our chat. At any time throughout the presentation, please submit your question via the private chat feature. A panel discussion will be facilitated by Sarah at the end of the presentation. This is when your submitted questions will be addressed. You may not be fully aware of the size of our district or the staff and students we serve. This slide is to provide you with some context. As you can see on this slide, Puyallup School District was founded in 1854. We are currently the 6th largest school district in Washington State. We employ nearly 4,100 staff members who serve over 23,110 students in 34 schools. There are over 80 different languages spoken throughout the district. District residents total approximately 145,542, and our district is comprised of Edgewood, Puyallup, South Hill, parts of Fife, and unincorporated areas of Pierce County. And lastly, we were ranked the #1 school district on Forbes lists for America's Best Employers by State in 2022. As many of you know, this is our second attempt at presenting Proposition 1 to voters. While the measure received more than the required 60% approval, it did not meet the necessary 40% voter turnout for validation, which is why we are presenting Proposition 1 to voters a second time. Election Day is next Tuesday, and we have been busy informing our stakeholders of critical information. A piece of that is sharing open house information with our community so they can learn more and ask questions. If you'd like to encourage friends or family to attend, this slide lists the remaining in-person and virtual open house dates. To start things off, here is a brief 3-minute video that highlights the necessity of this bond measure.
On April 22, 2025, Puyallup School District voters will consider an $800 million bond to fund major construction and infrastructure improvements at 7 neighborhood schools. The bond proposal continues to focus on addressing overcrowding, aging facilities, and accommodating enrollment growth. If approved, the bond would seek to maintain the current tax rate of $4.14 per $1,000 of assessed property value. Funding would be supported through a capital levy rollback, with the bond extending over 21 years. Over the next 10 years, enrollment is expected to increase by approximately 1,000 students. This growth will occur in areas such as Edgewood on North Hill and in the Sunrise area, and will contribute to capacity challenges in schools across the district. The bond proposal includes additions to Emerald Ridge, Puyallup, and Rogers High Schools to reduce reliance on portables, replacements for Spinning, Waller Road, and Mountain View elementary schools, to address critically failing infrastructure, and construction of a new elementary school in the Sunrise area. Current enrollment trends highlight the need for additional classroom space to address capacity challenges. Some of the district's oldest buildings, including Spinning, Waller Road, and Mountain View Elementary, are nearing the end of their functional lifespan, with building condition scores rated as poor. Issues such as leaky roofs, outdated plumbing, and failing HVAC systems highlight the need for replacement. Replacing these schools would provide safe, modern facilities designed to support student learning and well-being. Maintaining a steady tax rate ensures these projects remain financially manageable for the community.
Proposition 1 is an $800 million bond measure put forward by the Puyallup School District, which will seek to maintain a tax rate of $4.14 per $1,000 of assessed valuation. We accomplish that by rolling back a portion of the capital levy that was passed in February of 2024. The total tax rate in Puyallup includes our existing bonds, our capital levy, and our EP&O, or Educational Programs and Operations levy. We want to emphasize the importance to share information about this upcoming bond to ensure that all of our voters are able to be informed and participate in the upcoming election.
On April 22, 2025, voters will decide on a bond proposal to fund major construction at 7 neighborhood schools. Ballots must be submitted by April 22, 2025.
The Bond Advisory Committee's work utilized multiple reports and data sources developed over the past 5 years. In 2021, the board adopted the Citizens Facility Advisory Committee, or CFAC report, which provided a comprehensive review of district assets, including life cycle projects and major capital improvements needed over the next 12 years. The CFAC report's prioritized list of major capital projects served as a baseline for the Bond Advisory Committee. Additionally, related reports, such as the district's capital facilities plan and the study and survey report, were instrumental. The study and survey report was crucial in identifying life cycle projects included in the 2024 capital levy, which our voters approved February of 2024. In the upcoming slides about the bond projects, except for the new elementary school, you will notice a number in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. This number is a building condition score determined by the study and survey, rated on a scale of 1 to 100. Any score below 60 indicates poor facility condition. And as you will learn from this presentation, our district has a significant need to address aging schools. I will now turn things over to Brian to provide additional information.
Thank you, Vince. The Bond Advisory Committee initially reviewed a list of projects totaling over $1.26 billion in need. Through their efforts, the Bond Advisory Committee refined this list to focus on the most critical projects that would address growth, enhance safety, and reduce the reliance on portable classrooms. And as you learned by watching the previous video, this bond proposal includes 7 major capital projects. Emerald Ridge High School, Rogers High School, and Puyallup High School will all have building expansions to increase its permanent capacity. 3 elementary schools will be replaced, including Mountain View, Waller Road, and Spinning Elementaries. And a new elementary will be built on vacant district property uphill from Emerald Ridge High School to serve the highest growth region in our district. These next slides will provide details and video vignettes for each bond project. Emerald Ridge High School received a building condition score of 64, classifying it as fair. To address overcrowding and reduce reliance on portable classrooms, the school will undergo expansion and improvement. This includes constructing a modern 2-story addition with classrooms to increase the school's capacity to accommodate up to 1,800 students, supporting the projected future growth. We asked our staff and students to share their thoughts on the proposed project. Let's start by hearing from them in this first video.
Emerald Ridge High School, a hub of achievement and opportunity for students in our district, opened in 2000 as the district's third comprehensive high school. Emerald Ridge has seen remarkable growth, especially with the expansion of the Sunrise Master Plan, which has brought thousands of new homes and students to Puyallup School District. As enrollment continues to rise and more growth is on the horizon, the need for more space is more urgent than ever.
As a senior here at Emerald Ridge, I've seen the overcrowding firsthand. The classrooms are often full and we don't have enough space to move around, so it's tough to focus.
A planned addition to the school will help alleviate these challenges, providing more permanent classroom space and reducing reliance on portables, with improved learning environments for every student.
We can see all the different housing communities that are being built in the area, and we can see what that means for new families coming and the new space that we're going to need here at Emerald Ridge. One thing we're really looking forward to with this potential expansion also is bringing our students out of portables and into a main building. We know that in our community, security is a huge concern for a lot of our families.
If you can, register to vote because your voice matters and we want to hear it.
Rogers High School received a building condition score of 65, which classifies it as fair. This score represents the average condition of all buildings. Rogers High School will be expanded and improved to alleviate overcrowding and minimize reliance on portable classrooms. The project includes constructing a 2-story building addition that will provide additional student classrooms to meet current enrollment demands and projected growth. The building additions will provide connectivity between existing buildings, enhancing safety and security. This expansion will increase the school's capacity to accommodate up to 1,800 students, ensuring a more functional and supportive learning environment. Now, let's hear another perspective in this next video.
Rogers High School has been an integral part of the Puyallup community since it opened in 1968. While the school has undergone several classroom upgrades over the years, it has never experienced a full modernization. Overcrowded classrooms, deteriorating infrastructure, and limited access to modern technology hinder the school's ability to provide students with the best learning environments possible.
With thousands of students, this bond would allow us to get out of portables and create classrooms for every single student. And to me and to our families and our communities, that's very, very important.
We are one of the most open campuses here at Rogers High School, so being able to remove the portables and actually have students in the building is not only going to help with our safety, which we know in our society is a very big deal, especially with schools. It is going to be able to allow our students not to have to go in the rain, not to possibly go in the snow, in the wind, going from classroom to classroom. It means they will actually have closer access to things like bathrooms, which can take a lot of time away if they have to move all the way from the portable to get into the building and back.
From an instructional standpoint, really having students in up-to-date modern classrooms is better for their academic achievement, which is what we are all about.
Puyallup High School received a building condition score of 57, which classifies it as poor. This score represents the average condition of all buildings. Puyallup High School will undergo a significant expansion and improvements to address overcrowding and reduce dependence on portable classrooms. Plans include constructing a modern 3-story building to replace the closed Library Science Art Building, creating additional classrooms designed to accommodate current enrollment and projected growth, while meeting the district's educational standards for science, chemistry, biology, and art. Additionally, the project will complete Phase 2 of the Career and Technical Education Building by adding 2nd and 3rd floor classrooms, further enhancing learning opportunities and supporting the school's growing needs. The high school expansion will increase the permanent student capacity from approximately 1,260 students without portables to an 1,800 student capacity. Each voice adds something unique. Let's continue with another perspective.
We have a upcoming bond and just want to highlight a couple things that really could use some looking at and would be on the bond. That would include our chemistry labs. They're using shared space right now, and it's not up to par with what other facilities in the area and other school districts have, and our students could really use those updated facilities.
In chemistry, we didn't have a lab, which made it really hard to do very much in chemistry. And even in physics, we got moved to a new classroom, so we didn't have much space to do physical labs and things. It wasn't as fun, and it wasn't as interactive as I hoped it would be.
Most recently, we had to close our library science building, which has forced us to move several classrooms, a library, and chemistry labs into our main building. And right now, our students are at a significant disadvantage.
I think it's really important for students to have up-to-date classroom spaces to help them learn and grow better. With the bond, students will be able to have classroom spaces that are expanded and modern and equal to what other students in the district have.
I know that there are a lot of students that want to have a say in this, so if you're 16 or 17, you can pre-register and vote.
Mountain View Elementary School received a building condition score of 40, classifying it as poor. This score represents the average condition of all buildings. Mountain View Elementary will be replaced and expanded to address its aging and failing infrastructure, ensuring a safe and secure learning environment for students. The project will expand the school's facilities to accommodate current enrollment and projected growth, effectively reducing overcrowding. Updated, modern buildings will enhance safety and security, while site parking and traffic circulation improvements will create a more efficient and accessible campus for students, staff, and families. The replacement building for Mountain View Elementary will more than double today's permanent capacity from approximately 250 students to 550 student capacity. The North Hill area is one of the high-growth centers in the district, and the Mountain View expansion will alleviate current and projected overcrowding at both Mountain View and Northwood Elementary. This video provides additional information from Mountain View staff.
Mountain View Elementary is feeling the strain of the growth here on the North Hill, but we don't have the infrastructure any longer to support it. Originally, these were all separate buildings, and there was a little bit of a remodel in the past to connect those buildings, but we still have a feel of really separation of different wings around the building. Really, we also don't have the infrastructure of technology that many of our newer buildings have as well.
I went to school here, my kids went to school here, and I've been teaching here for quite a while, and not much has changed at Mountain View. Our outdated building here at Mountain View makes it really difficult to implement new teaching methods.
We have 6 different portable classrooms that house students at this time. Really makes it tricky for students as they navigate their way around the building on a tight schedule. We also have to eat lunch in our classrooms. We don't have a cafeteria space, and so that adds a little bit of extra strain on those classrooms as well. A new building would not only be able to support the additional growth here up on the North Hill, but it would also provide that perfect learning environment for our students while also being able to support the growth at Northwood Elementary.
Spinning Elementary School received a building condition score of 40, classifying it as poor. Spinning Elementary will be replaced and expanded to address its aging and failing infrastructure, ensuring a safe and secure learning environment for students. The project will expand the school's facilities to accommodate current enrollment and projected growth, effectively reducing overcrowding. Updated modern buildings will enhance safety and security, while site parking and traffic circulation improvements will create a more efficient and accessible campus for students, staff, and families. The replacement building for Spinning will be sized to reduce the need for portables, not only at Spinning, but at surrounding elementary schools like Meeker, Stewart, and potentially Shaw Road Elementary. Here's additional information that Spinning staff would like to share.
Love our school, I love our community, but I feel like we definitely could do better for our students and our staff. Our building is rated out of all the buildings in Puyallup the worst in terms of building conditions. So although we try and the district tries very hard to make the repairs that are needed, it's getting to the point where it's beyond repairs. We need a new building for the safety and security of our students.
There are some difficult conditions as far as the heating goes in our classrooms. Last year, if I turned the heat up, we'd open windows and then it turned the heat up a little bit higher. So we had tired students that were it was hard for them to focus.
In the winter, we are wearing coats and mittens a lot of days because the vents do not work consistently. The first couple weeks of school, we get to have big conversations with 5-year-olds about the train that passes by, the vibrations that it causes.
Right when I'm ready to deliver a lesson, here comes the train. So we pause, it's loud, it's very loud. So then we shut the windows again and then the room gets overheated.
I invite you to register to vote. Your vote is so important.
Waller Road Elementary School has a building condition score of 40, classifying it as poor. Waller Road Elementary will be replaced and expanded to address its aging and failing infrastructure, ensuring a safe and secure learning environment for students. The project will expand the school's facilities to accommodate the current enrollment and projected growth, effectively reducing overcrowding. Updated modern buildings will enhance safety and security, while site parking and traffic circulation improvements will create a more efficient and accessible campus for students, staff, and families. The replacement building for Waller Road will increase its permanent capacity from approximately 240 students to 400 students, eliminating the need for portables and accommodating a modest enrollment increase. Each story paints a clearer picture of what this bond measure means to our community. Let's hear from Waller Road Elementary.
Waller Road was built in 1936. It's an old building. It was remodeled last in the 1980s, so we get a lot of problems with some of the building infrastructure, the pipes, the electrical, all of those things. It's a lot of repairs, it's constant breakdowns. It's something that we are used to kind of dealing with on a regular basis.
We are in dire, desperate need for an upgrade. We've had some great upgrades that the district has provided for us, but again, we are a very, very struggling school with heating, ventilation, air conditioning, water quality, electricity, parking, safety. We just need a complete upgrade here at Waller Road.
We do have our drop-off and pickup on our blacktop, which is unique to our school. It's because we live on a very busy road out here on Waller Road. And so the traffic, in order to alleviate the traffic being backed up and creating a safe place, we are having our parents drive onto our blacktop.
So we would appreciate you getting out there to vote, and thank you for your time.
Lastly, Proposition 1 will provide us with the ability to construct a new elementary school in the southeast region of the district. This new elementary will reside on previously owned district land that is located just above Emerald Ridge High School and Glacier View Junior High to address projected growth and enrollment in the Sunrise Master Plan area. This new school will reduce overcrowding in neighborhood elementary schools that include Edgerton, Pope, and Hunt Elementary, providing students with a more comfortable and supportive learning environment. I will now turn it back over to Vince, who will share information on potential state match funds.
Thank you, Brian. In addition to funding received from the bond, we estimate the district will qualify for up to $152.9 million of state match monies. This estimate is based on the total eligibility of the 7 bond projects as driven by OSPI's state match formulas for new construction and modernization of existing buildings. State match dollars based on a particular project cannot be collected until the project has reached 90% completion. The school board may charter a bond oversight committee after the passage of a bond to recommend the allocation of state match funds. The list of potential state match projects table on the right of this particular slide includes some of the higher priority projects as identified by previous committees that could potentially receive a portion of state match funds. And as you can see there, Walker High School Edition, Glacier View Junior High Edition, Puyallup High School Gym Replacement, and then several others. This measure seeks to maintain a steady tax rate over the next 21 years for homeowners. It is important to note that our total tax rate includes the educational programs and operating levy, often called an EP&O levy, the capital levy, and the bond. Starting in 2025, property owners in the Puyallup School District will pay $4.14 per $1,000 of assessed property value, plus 7 cents per $1,000 for a county adjustment for prior year's assessments. This rate was approved by voters in February of 2024 as part of the capital levy, which supports critical educational and facility needs. The $4.14 rate funds 3 components essential to maintaining and enhancing public education in the district. It is also important to note that changes in legislation and property value fluctuations are outside of our control. So the bonds require a super majority vote, meaning 60% plus 1. Bonds also have a voter validation requirement. That means for this election, similar to the February 11th special election, there is a 40% voter validation requirement that needs to be met. This validation is based on the number of ballots returned during the previous general election, which was, as you may remember, the presidential election held November 5th. Achieving this will be a significant challenge as we need at least 2,784 more votes than were cast in February's special election. To meet the 40% validation threshold, we will need a minimum of 28,216 ballots returned. So what happens without this funding? So running a bond measure now maintains the 2024 voter-approved $4.14 tax rate for the next 21 years, providing stability and predictability for our community. Additionally, the state match funds will be based on our higher pre-pandemic 2019 enrollment numbers, which maximizes the bond's value. The levy rollback will accelerate life cycle improvement projects by making funds available sooner. If we wait, future bond measures will require advertising a tax rate increase, potentially impacting voter approval. Delaying the bond will also increase project costs by 4.5% to 5.5% annually. In addition, state match funds will be based on current enrollment numbers, reducing funding. Lastly, if the bond does not pass, district leadership and the board of directors will need to discuss the potential closure of Spinning Elementary and Waller Road Elementary, like the closure of the library science building at Puyallup High School. So what can you do? As we approach the upcoming bond election, there are a few important steps you can take. If you aren't already registered to vote, please go to votewa.gov to register. Become knowledgeable about the facts and building needs. Follow the Foundations for Our Future on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And of course, share information and posts with your network to help spread the word. Your involvement is crucial in sharing and making informed decisions about our district's future. So now it's time for us to begin answering the questions received during the presentation. So I'd like to pass this portion of the agenda off to Sarah Gillespie, and she will now facilitate that discussion. As a reminder, please continue submitting questions that you'd like for us to address in the chat.
Thank you, Vince. I'd like to share with everyone that we do have a team of district staff here with us tonight that can help address any questions that that you'd like for us to discuss or acknowledge here in the chat. We've really only received a couple, so I know we have a small number of guests joining us tonight, but certainly feel free to launch right into this and send us any questions you may have so we can facilitate some discussion here. This first question, Vince, and I'm going to direct this at you. This is really with regards to public funding. We've received this question a lot in our previous engagement sessions with the public, really understanding why this funding does not come from the state and what is being done about that. And in fact, I know we have Dr. Palm for a little bit joining us here too. Maybe both of you can attempt at answering that question.
Yeah, if Dr. Palm wants to kick it off, and then I can piggyback off that.
Sure, thank you. I guess to begin with, the state of Washington has over time has a system in place which relies on local communities to pass bonds for school construction. There are state dollars that are available for school construction assistance. And in that program, the state does require local communities to first pass a bond in order to apply for those funds, such as what Dr. Pecky was mentioning a little bit earlier. This particular bond package, should it be successful, would potentially generate $152.9 million of state assistance. That doesn't come to the district until you can apply for those dollars as when a project is 90% complete and certified as such. So you don't receive those dollars up front. In fact, from the 2015 bond that we passed, we actually still have some of those dollars to collect, believe it or not. So it's over about a 10-year period. And so that's one of the, I guess, the biggest challenges we have is knowing that, it's a stress on our local communities. However, our state system has set it up such that we are really relying upon the local community to really pass bonds in order to fund these school construction projects. Not sure if that completely answered the question, but that's that's the bottom line on how it works for public schools. And so obviously in Puyallup we've been fortunate to have good support of our levies, our program levies, educational programs and operations. And then recently we had the community support a capital levy, which has helped with maintenance and repairs of existing facilities, but those don't build new facilities.
Yeah, thank you for touching on the state match funds component of bond measures, Dr. Palm. It's just so important for districts in situations like this to really capitalize on the measure and the state providing us dollars, in response to the success of those projects and the measure, really, because like you said, from the 2015 bond, we were able to complete expansions to our junior highs. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, the 2015 bond was focused on elementary schools, but you're correct in that the state match dollars that came to the school district, those not only paid for the expansions to Ballou Junior High, Stahl Junior High, Ferrucci Junior High, but also provided dollars for the construction of the Kessler Center, which is located on 112th Street, and it houses many of our programs, which were formerly in leased facilities around the community. And all those were done with state dollars, which is really pretty exciting if we were able to have the opportunity again.
Okay, good, thanks. We did receive one question or perhaps a comment in the chat This attendee says Puyallup voters actually overwhelmingly approved this measure in February. There just needed to be more votes cast. Is that correct? And I'll go ahead and address that. That is correct. And Vince, you can chime in here as well. There's 2 requirements for bonds for school districts in Washington State. There is a supermajority, which is that 60% plus 1, plus the validation requirement. So we did not make that validation requirement. Vince, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I'll just kind of reiterate, we need at least 2,784 more votes than were cast in the February special election to meet that validation requirement. And that's why it's so important to share information about our upcoming election and encourage folks to submit their ballot. That's very critical. So the more you can spread this information to your network of friends, family that live in the Puyallup School District attendance area, and whether or not they're registered to vote, get them registered and encourage them to fill out their ballot if they're 18 years of age or older, and just vote. That's what we need.
Yeah, thank you, Vince. And Dr. Palm, I'm going to have you answer this next question too. We've heard this before with community members. So the measure did not pass in February. Why did the district choose to represent the bond measure again to voters in April? Why not wait for next year? So Dr. Palm, would you like to address that?
Sure, I can address that. Thanks for the question. Well, I guess first of all, we can run a bond 2 different times in a calendar year. So we are limited. So I think strategically we were looking at all the work that was done in February to try to share information. We felt like with 63% of the voters voting yes, we just needed to continue to share information so that not only those who participated the first election, but also, as Vince was saying, we could have additional people then participate in April in order to validate. That said, I think there's a couple of things. Rather than wait until 2026, what would happen at that point, should that be the case, is I think we said earlier in the presentation that the projects become more expensive. And the state match dollar element of the bond would be indexed off of enrollment from the next year from what the original enrollment. And so that means it would actually be during pandemic enrollment time, which was lower for the district. So that would generate less state match dollars. Now we know that most of the investment in construction projects in our schools really goes fairly locally. And in Puyallup, I think we found that to be the case, where local contractors are bidding on these jobs. Many of the subcontractors are local when we're talking about electricians and plumbers and sheetrock, et cetera. All those things we know are significant impacts financially to the local community. So I think we saw this as a better opportunity to invest in the local community if we were successful with this in the 2025 calendar year. So I think that's one of the things is bang for your buck was better now. And so if we wait, we'll continue to have needs. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the board considered a bond in next year should this not be successful, but we're going to have less bang for our buck with that bond. And so we may not be able to include all the same projects that are currently there. That would be something we'd have to assess should that be the case.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, and thanks for reiterating that the district didn't take this lightly at all with representing this measure again to voters. But absolutely what you said, we wanted to really have these needs stay in the forefront of everybody's mind and really capitalize on the work and the communication and the support that had already been done with the February election. So thank you. And along those lines too, I think Dr. Palm noted this. We have an attendee that put in the chat here. I'm just going to read it verbatim. These important projects aren't necessarily due to maintenance neglect, like home improvements. Big projects need voter support to accomplish. Will these projects cost projects cost more in the future with rising costs of building materials? And I think the answer to that is yes.
Yeah, I think we know historically prices will rise each year. Certainly right now, there's a lot of uncertainty out there with regard to various tariffs and things of that nature that may impact, future costs. But I think that's important to note that no, it's not with maintenance neglect. And can you imagine if you're at Puyallup High School and you had 1,800 people coming through and using doorways and just all the different carpets and everything else, as well as all of the infrastructure that's needed to support all those people and the heating and the cooling, et cetera. It just takes a lot of toll, and we do a lot of maintenance. We put a lot of money into these facilities every single year. So it's not due to any sort of neglect. It's just a matter of wear and tear over time, and there's a life expectancy for anything. There's for any building, but it isn't really like your home because the use is so much greater in these public school facilities.
Yep. 6th largest district in the state. There's a lot of wear and tear that goes on throughout our campuses. So we don't have any more questions in the chat, but I did kind of want to pose this question because again, we are often asked it. And so if this bond does not pass, what happens? And specifically, and maybe Vince, you can start this off, and Brian chime in here certainly as well. Can you talk a little bit about the process involved with the potential closure with some of our schools? This is absolutely a last sort of type of resort that we would need to consider, but if you could kind of talk to that process, that would be helpful.
Sure. So that's just one impact of the bond not passing, is to engage in discussion around the potential closure of Waller Road and Spinning elementary schools. And so what we know right now is that our board of directors did commission the school capacity and utilization task force. We call that the SCUT committee or SCUT task force that Brian Devereaux oversees and facilitates, to engage in discussion and to come up with a plan if we were in a position where those two particular schools did need to close, like the library science building at Puyallup High School. The board did not commission, and I'll repeat that, did not commission that those two schools would close, but they want us, the task force, to study the impact if they were to close based on their condition, as shared earlier in this presentation. They are two of the lowest rated schools for facility condition. And so the SCUT committee will be looking at that, meaning that we will be looking at and addressing questions such as, well, what happens to the students who reside in those two schools' attendance area? Where do they go to school in the Puyallup School District if those two schools were to close? Using Spinning as an example, if Spinning were to close, do students go to Shaw Road? Do some of them go to Stewart Elementary? Do some of them go to Wildwood Elementary or Ridgecrest Elementary? What are the neighboring schools around Spinning that are students who currently reside in the Spinning attendance area? Where could they go if it were to close? And what other impacts would our families face if that were to happen in the future, if the bond were not to pass? Similar to Waller Road. Where would students currently at Waller Road or future students go? Would they go to Fruitland or Maplewood or Meeker or Woodland? Other schools that are in somewhat, close proximity to Waller Road and Spinning for that matter. So I could let Brian, if he wants to expand on that, because like I said, he oversees that particular task force that would oversee that work and provide the board of directors with a report on the findings of that.
Yeah, thanks for that share, Vince. I think you've covered it pretty well. I'll just add that as I hear you talking about these possibilities, we're talking about looking at schools with portables already. And so there are no easy answers, but I think that the board is being prudent by asking this task force to take a look at these possibilities in the event that a decision has to be made to close these schools. The Puyallup High School's Library Science Art Building was on previous bond measures that did not pass. And the plan was to run again and to try and replace that space. And unfortunately, we just ran out of time with that building. And it's hard to say exactly how much time we have with these buildings, but having that plan up front, I think makes a lot of sense. And so we'll be working on that this next fall and presenting potentially this coming January of 2026 in the event that the bond does not pass this April.
And what I do also, thank you, Brian, what I also want to say is we realize that even engaging in discussions around a plan, for the potential closure of those two schools, those two elementary schools, that stirs up a lot of, feelings, especially for the families that live in those two school communities that may have had, several family members go through those schools because those schools have been around a long time. So there's a lot of history and a lot of connection to those two schools in particular that we know will just be an impact to families just by having the discussion around their potential closure. And so that's really important to really recognize and to just call it out because as we know that any closure of a school, it can get very, it's a very sensitive topic. And like I said, there's a lot of connections that are made and history of, family members going through schools that it just stirs up a lot. And so we're sensitive to that. And it's important to call that out.
I also want to comment, Brian, I appreciate the way you phrased that as we just ran out of time with the library science building, which is going to come down this summer, regardless of the outcome of the bond. But I think I just want to, before I had to head out to another meeting, I just wanted to thank everybody for participating this evening. And I know Sarah's going to comment on follow-up, but if you do have any additional questions, please submit those. You can email those at any time. We'd be happy to respond to those. But I need to step out for another commitment, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Palm. And Vince, I really appreciate you acknowledging the emotional side that everyone goes through with potential school closures. That is not something that the district takes lightly at all. And engaging in that research and that process with community and all the stakeholders is paramount. And it really speaks to the process and the objective of our SCUT committee, our School Capacity and Utilization Committee. I mean, we have a team of stakeholders that are representative of so many different types of audiences and groups, but collectively that group really figures out how to best utilize our facilities. And a lot of good reports are coming out of that work. So if you'd like to follow along with the work and the reports that come out of the SCUT committee, certainly access that information on our district website and in foundations. I did want to give Brian one more opportunity to address this particular question because it is in relation to growth. I wanted us to touch on this really quick. And then we can proceed with possibly concluding a little early because we haven't gotten any more comments in the chat here. But Brian, before we leave and hand things back off to Vince, can you please talk a little bit about the projected growth that the district is expected to have? You know, I do believe we are one of the unique districts in Pierce County that that is still experiencing growth. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, you know, enrollment in the district used to be pretty consistent in terms of growth through the 2010s. When we hit the pandemic, it's really fluctuated since then, but we've had a few years since that time to see patterns. And what we know, number one, is that birth counts that are feeding into future kindergartners, those are going to be lower numbers than what we've seen in recent past, but they're very similar to the numbers that we've seen in the last decade. So that is a big part of what drives enrollment. And then in addition to that, you have the residential construction that's happening in our district. That's something that we track very closely. We work with all 4 building permit jurisdictions in which the Puyallup School District has schools or service areas within. And we know that there's more growth coming. It's currently under construction, and there's more planned growth that hasn't broken ground, that if you didn't receive a notice of the permit, you would have no idea it's coming unless you've been by the site and saw the sign. So we look at these factors like birth counts and residential housing to anticipate that. And overall, the message is that while we're not going to be a district that has grown at the same level that we saw within the last decade on an annual average, we are still going to be a growing district. And that's on top of the growth that's already been experienced. Our current projections show a district-wide K-12 growth component between 800 to 1,000 students over the next 10 years. So that is where we're at in terms of what we're anticipating. But these bubbles don't show up evenly throughout the district. We're going to see a lot of high class sizes coming into junior high and high school, with some of our largest class sizes that are currently in the elementary that'll take years to work through the system. Again, we're tracking all that. That's part of what the School Capacity and Utilization Task Force is looking at, to make sure that we are using our facilities as efficiently and as purposely as possible to support the instructional environment for our students and staff.
Could you say, Brian, that due to the fact of our grade configuration here in our district, we're unique in that we have unique needs because we don't have a middle school model, we have a junior high model?
Absolutely. Yeah. For those that are moving into Puyallup or are not familiar with the school system here and what the predominant model is in the state and in the country, we are unique, somewhat unique in the fact that we still have a kindergarten through 6th grade grade configuration at the elementary, except for 2 elementary schools that are on North Hill, which is Mountain View and Northwood. There we have K-5, and then we have a 6 through 9 junior high. Besides Edgemont Junior High up on North Hill, that's 6th through 9th grade, all of our junior highs, not middle schools, our junior highs are 7th through 9th graders. So again, we have 9th graders that are technically high school students that are being housed in our junior high facilities. And really, facilities has been one of the major reasons why we haven't been able to move forward with moving to a 9 through 12 high school. Again, we have 13 portable classrooms at Emerald Ridge. We have 19 portable classrooms at Puyallup High School. We're going to have that many this summer when we add a few more portables at Rogers this year because of growth. We are very challenged at the high school level in terms of space. What this bond will do, it'll move us forward so that in the future, that a 9 through 12 reconfiguration would be possible, regardless of whether we go there or not. What we know is that we need 1,800 students for our 10th through 12th graders at each of our comprehensive high schools. And fortunately, this bond would move us in that direction and set us up for a configuration to be contemplated in the future.
Yeah, thank you for touching on that. I think that's an important aspect of this measure as well. Okay, well, no questions in the chat. So at this time, Vince, I will pass things back over to you.
Yeah, so appreciate everyone attending this evening. So if you have any additional thoughts or feedback you would like to share with us, please use the QR code presented on this slide. You could put your phone right up there and it will link to a feedback platform that you can use. So again, thanks for attending and actively engaging in tonight's discussion. We value your time and we truly appreciate your commitment to learning more about the issues at hand. As we conclude, we want to emphasize the importance of your participation in shaping our community's future by casting your vote. And ballots need to be returned no later than 8 p.m. next Tuesday, April 22nd. So thanks again for attending and have a good evening. So if that, I'm just going to say this, if that ballot is sitting there on your kitchen table or in your car or whatever, please drop it in at a site where either put it in the mail or you could go to a ballot drop box and get that vote in. Every vote counts. Thank you.